the choice of what you're going to get out of this presentation or this whole weekend is that you're going to be able to leave and say that you have your own understanding of what your successful life would be. What is your success? Your success and what you would evaluate success to be is vastly different from anyone else that's going to be talking to you today. It's an individual, personalized decision. What one person does, and they're greatly successful at it, I would hate it. I mean, you couldn't pay me enough to do some of the things that these fabulous people are up here being able to do. Personally, the way that I look at success is, what is God's will for my life? Now, this is me. You're going to have your own. Your story of success or your idea of success might be homeschooling your children. It could be spending more time with your family. It could be that you find that passion and you change the world through it. So hang with me a little bit. We're going to talk about passion, and I want you to look into your heart. Just right now, close your eyes. What's the first thing you think about that makes your heart soar? What is that fire inside you where you're like, man, I can't even talk about that without screaming or without shaking? What really pumps you up? For me growing up, I loved singing. That wasn't for me. We'll leave that to Jess. But I really loved animals. And I actually did get a vocal scholarship to college for a music degree. I thought that's what I was supposed to do because people were like, you can sing. I'm like, okay. And like, we'll give you a scholarship and we'll pay to have people teach you how to do it even better. And I was like, okay. And so then I went and I had to learn music theory, and it involved a whole bunch of math. And I was like, I don't know. I think that if I did take this music degree to the next level, then I would be like a music teacher. That wasn't my passion. So I actually dropped out of that and went to doggy college, which is a thing, believe it or not. And I did that for 3 years full time to learn the psychology and the behavior of animals. And while I was doing that, I learned and I really discovered my passion for helping people through these incredible creatures who right now it doesn't look like, much. She could look like a polar bear rug, but she can do some incredible things. And when you walked in here and you saw this, everyone had some form of an emotional reaction, right? Some of you were overjoyed and overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, puppy, I have to touch. And others of you are like, no, that is so much work. It's not for me. But when you have a passion and you need to work hard to make it happen, it's going to take some sleepless nights. Who here has raised a puppy? Is it super easy? Like so easy to sleep in and actually sleep 8 hours? No, you have to take them out to go potty. It's a lot of work, but the benefits are really great. That's my passion. But your passion could be something completely different than that. I am almost the spouse of a veteran. And I will tell you how that's almost true. Because this month, my husband is retiring from the Navy. Yes, it's happening. It's been over 20 years. And I will tell you that as a young child, his passion was to be in the military. It's all he wanted to do. He had this heart for it. He knew people that were in it. His uncle who raised him was in the military in Guatemala. And my husband, who is now a U.S. citizen, he's in the Navy. He's retiring as a chief. He has served on 2 different ships. And he also did boots on ground and deployed with the SEAL teams. Now, anybody here who is a veteran, who is in the military, who knows someone who is, you have a deep understanding of PTSD. Very few times did he ever come back without PTSD. And he still suffers from it today. from the horrible things. I don't have to tell you what it was, what happened, you know what happened. But it changed him, and he would do it over again because it's his passion and he loves it. He's now transitioning, and he's going to find another passion. Not that he will ever fully let go of that passion. He will always have it. He will always, won't we always be involved in the military community? Of course, that's where our heart is. But he's now transitioning to find another passion. When I decided that the music thing wasn't for me, and that it was actually dogs, I started training pet dogs for people, and the income that I got from that went to train service dogs for free for people who were disabled. The very first person I did this for was a little 12-year-old boy who could not walk on his own. And when he went to school, people made fun of him because he couldn't walk like they could walk. But guess what? He got that dog, and that dog braced him with a harness while he's walking through school, and guess who was the most popular kid? He was absolutely the most popular kid. Dogs can create this amazing social bridge. The dog could also pick up the pencil for him because he couldn't bend down to get it. The dog could open doors for him, literally, social and physical doors. We train dogs to assist children and adults that have autism. We train psychiatric service dogs for people who have PTSD, whether that is from a civilian or veteran cause. We are one of 2 accredited organizations in the entire world that will train a psychiatric service dog for a civilian. Mostly it's for veterans. We are the only accredited organization in the entire world that will train a psychiatric service dog for a child. It is very cool. We have people on our waiting list. We have over 200 people on our waiting list. We have people on there from Israel, Ireland, England, Canada, and a lot of people from the United States. One night when I was supposed to be sleeping, but I was, daydreaming, it's said that dogs can alert to seizures, but no one knows how that's done. Well, I would like to stand here and say, guess what? This great thing that I did. But no, I rode on the coattails of other who came before me, who discovered that dogs can send out bombs and explosives and drugs and cancer and diabetes and bed bugs in a hotel room. Do you know that that's someone's job? They have a little rat terrier and they go into hotels, and the hotel pays them big bucks to take their dog from room to room for the dog to say, there's bed bugs in here, where's my toy? They get paid for that. Well, I thought, couldn't we do that with seizures? And so I thought, well, let's experiment with it. And I had many dogs in training at my disposal, and on our waiting list, many recipients who had epilepsy. Now, epilepsy, there's in like a classroom of children, the statistics are that one of them has epilepsy, but no one talks about it. I'm not going to be here and raise your hand if you have epilepsy. It's not just something that you talk about, but it's actually a very, very common thing. And let me just paint this picture for you of a parent that has a child with epilepsy. You do not sleep. Most people would think that there could be injury from falling downstairs or drowning in a pool or falling in the shower. It's suffocating in your bed. It's called SUDEP, sudden unexpected death in epilepsy patients. When you're a parent with a child with epilepsy, that seizure can come on very silently. And it gives me goosebumps right now. This is my passion, right? Yours might be different, but it gives me goosebumps thinking that they could go into their child's room in the morning and the child will have been passed away from a silent seizure. And there's nothing that can detect it in advance except a dog. It is incredible. What I started to do was I would train dogs in a game. It's all about motivation. Who works without getting paid? You have to get excited about it. Your pay might be your passion, and that might be it. It doesn't have to be monetary. For dogs, I pay them in food because they love to eat. If anyone has a Labrador or a Golden Retriever, you know what I'm talking about. She's super asleep right now and really tired. Eve, oh, Look. Yes. So it's food, right? Alert? Okay, so that seems super simple. She will wake up from a dead sleep to play this game. Down. Good girl. I'm gonna pay her again. Gotta keep the treats coming. Stay. But I would play this game with the dog. The dogs get super excited about it. They can't wait to play it. And then I tell the recipient, after you've recovered from your seizure, play this game with the dog. The dog started alerting to the seizures in advance. They told the person, they would come and paw at the leg, be like, it's time to play the game, because they could smell it. Now that I've been doing this for 15 years and kind of like perfecting this method, we get boxes and we put them on the ground. One of the boxes has a treat in it, and it has a gauze sample with saliva from the person who had the seizure. And the other boxes don't. Guess what box the dog wants? The one that just happens to have the seizure scent in it. It becomes very easy to train the dog to alert to seizures. So this is literally changing people's lives. The dog can alert them minutes in advance, sometimes even up to an hour in advance, with medical technology not being able to do that. It is incredible. The way that the dogs can help our veterans come back and transition, going back into public, is also incredible. Someone who has been in a war zone, they can't just go to Target and walk around the aisle because they can't see what's over there. There's a sudden commotion because a kid knocked some cereal boxes on the ground, but that sounded a lot like something else in their past that was traumatizing. Guess what? The dog calms that situation, not just because they're there. Granted, the companionship is really awesome, but the dog is able to change it for them because they smell the anxiety coming, and they will paw at your leg for that too. They will provide deep pressure therapy, which is like a weighted vest or a weighted blanket, but on steroids, because it's a dog that's interacting with you. It's really neat. They completely change the way that our veterans are able to transition and come back into society when they're dealing with a disability that can be harder than a physical disability. And it's really hard when other people don't understand it because they can't get into that person's mind. They're like, you're not in a wheelchair, you're not disabled. Oh yes, they are. And the dog senses it just as they would sense epilepsy or just as they would sense diabetes. They're able to smell it and they're able to respond to it through the training that we've given them. Along this journey in training the dogs, I had to be open-minded. Now, I would always like to say that Katie Gonzales, that's me, is so open-minded. I was not. I was naive and closed-minded, totally, because someone came to me and said, would you like to have your puppies trained in a prison? I was like, no, I wouldn't. I love them so much. They're so cute and cuddly. And that sounds scary to me. That was the naive part of me. I wasn't educated in it yet. While I was closed-minded to that, other nonprofit service dog organizations were scooping up the prison programs that wanted to participate because they saw over and over and over again that the inmates' lives were dramatically changed by this. I finally caught on because I decided to be open-minded, which allowed me to soak in the education and see what was actually transpiring, what was actually happening. So these dogs are not only helping the disabled, but we work with 6 prison programs across the country. And there are over 200 inmate volunteers working with these dogs every day. Imagine, we have one facility, the California Women's Facility in Chowchilla, California. Some of these women will never get to be with their children again or their family. We can't work with prison programs where someone's there for 5 years. They're gonna be there for like 20 years or life. It's a long time. They have a huge part of them that's already missing. Some of them might have fallen into circumstances because they didn't have love ever given to them. They may not have had love ever reciprocated. We walk in there with one of these and their faces light up. Some of them haven't seen a dog in 30 years. And the dogs immediately love them unconditionally. Like, it makes me want to cry. This is my passion. It's wonderful. And so they are learning a skill. They're able to give back to the community whom they might have taken from. And they get to see that dog go on and help someone who's disabled, and that dog gives them joy every day. And it teaches them to love and to accept the love in return. And I have to say that that part of our program is just as beneficial as helping these people who are disabled. Either way, it's changing lives. The program that I started was in San Diego. We opened up another one in New Hampshire. We have 30 full-time staff and over 400 volunteers. It's a lot. And I decided to move to Texas because my husband is retiring. So I very recently moved here. I am now a local, kind of. I have boots, but I always had boots. I just love them. I'm really enjoying it here, and I will never, ever let go of Little Angels. I founded it, but I've trained someone else to be the director, which is so awesome because he can take it to the next level. So it's not just about starting one thing and you have to stick with it forever, but your heart will probably always be there. Some other things that could be your passion. Child trafficking. I'm not even going to talk about it because if I do, I'll start a rally. I am so passionate about it. I get so emotional that I don't even think that I could present on it well. There is a hospital that looks like a house. This is another passion that I have. This house is there for children who are passing away. Like, I want to cry about it just thinking about it. But if you have a child and they're at the end of their life, like we're talking about like the last week or so of their life, you know it's coming. You don't necessarily want them in a typical hospital room. This house opens up so they can have the medical care. The parents are provided for. They're fed. They have emotional support. They have trained medical staff, psychologists and psychiatrists, and trained mental health professionals to help them. There is a fountain there in their garden with hundreds of stones. And every stone has a child's name on it because they passed away there. I just imagine myself being that mom and having all of these well-meaning people wanting to help me through this, but I can't accept it. And then a dog walks in. And I get to take that dog into the garden, knowing that my child's name is going to be on that rock. And I just cry into that dog's fur. My child hasn't been there. I don't know any children that has. But you can see the passion. It's streaming down my face. There's something else I'm passionate about. There is a catalog that we get every year with families that are suffering in other countries because they don't have the skill set to feed their families. And this year what I'm doing is I'm going to open it up with my nephews, and I'm going to let them pick out their Christmas present, and their Christmas present is going to be a goat for this family or a chicken for this family, and they get to see how they can give back to the world. So my encouragement for you today is to find and define your success. What is your successful life? It can be anything that you are passionate about, but pursue it. Go find the skill set to make it happen. Just start working toward it, and that is what is going to give you the fulfillment for your successful life. Thank you.